Just 3 days ago, a candidate who happens to be an actor made a statement saying that for him to go from his place where he is to the meeting place, he hired a helicopter paying 2,300 US dollars. That's about 7.5 lakhs of rupees. From where do they get that money, that sort of money?
Welcome to Ideal Island. My guest today is Srinath Perera of President's Counsel, who joins me from Colombo. Welcome, Srinath, to this program.
Welcome. So nice hearing from you, Rohan.
Very nice to have you on board, Srinath. Well, you have had a very distinguished career as a lawyer in Sri Lanka, working for the Attorney General's Department and culminating as the additional Solicitor General. Let's talk about all of that and what you're doing now in a few minutes from now. But let's start at the beginning, Srinath. Where did you school? Which school did you go to?
I was fortunate enough to be educated at one of the leading most schools in Sri Lanka. That's
Which one is
St.
that?
St. Joseph's College, Colombo, where I had my primary and secondary education. Thereafter, I was fortunate enough to get into Sri Lanka Law College, where I completed my professional course within 4 years, and I took my oaths as an advocate. Those days, there was a distinction between advocates and proctors in Sri Lanka, a distinction which was similar to what is being followed in UK now. And I took my oaths in the year 1974.
Right, Srinath, if I can interject you there. So you qualified as an advocate of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka under the older system prior to 1972, I believe, when there was a fused profession of today's attorneys at law. So as an advocate student, did you, like in the UK, the course at the law college, did it entail special advocacy training?
Yes, because to qualify as an advocate, there was a separate system, a distinct one, which we had to follow, a separate course. Whereas we also had another distinct one called proctors. So I was in this advocates group, which is mainly, it developed lawyers who were to appear in court on behalf of clients and plead.
So the old system... Yeah, so the old system was where the proctors would instruct the advocates in court, and the advocate would do the representation on behalf of their clients to the judges.
Absolutely.
Right. So was it 1972 when we had a fused profession, or you may have a more accurate date where attorneys at law came into being?
Sorry?
You may know which year the attorneys at law came into the new profession as opposed to advocates and...
We were the last batch of advocate students.
I see.
I was fortunate enough to be in that batch.
I see. So after qualifying from Sri Lanka Law College in Colombo, did you do training as a new lawyer, or did you join the Attorney General's Department straight away?
My apprenticeship under a very senior criminal lawyer, Mr. Perera. Thereafter, having taken my oaths in the year 1973, 6 months thereafter, I was fortunate enough to be selected to the Attorney General's Department, which I joined in the year 1974, to be precise, on the 2nd of February. On the 5th of February.
I see. So, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Since then,
In 1996, I continued there. In December 1996, I resigned from the department as Senior Additional Solicitor General.
So you were the senior additional Solicitor General, and that's when you retired from service. I mean, many of our viewers, both in Sri Lanka and overseas, will know you during your time at the Attorney General's Department. That's the reason why I asked about the past prior to that, so that they have a better view from St. Joseph's to Law College and then to the Attorney General's Department.
Can I also say this? Can I also say this, with your permission, Rohan, that whilst being in the department, I was given a scholarship to join Queen Mary College to do my LLM in intellectual property law, which I successfully completed and then returned back to Sri Lanka and continued to practice or attached to the Attorney General's Department.
So I think that's a good achievement because perhaps Queen Mary College in London and then also intellectual property, maybe at that point in time, Sri Lanka's intellectual property laws would have been at a, well, slightly embryonic stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I might also add that I was fortunate enough, whilst being in the UK, I also qualified as a solicitor and got enrolled.
Right. Yeah, welcome to my profession then. I'm also an attorney at law of Sri Lanka, by the way. So, yeah. So, and also you have the great distinction of returning to your motherland after the Queen Mary College qualification. That's something that one needs to appreciate in this day and age, because there's a huge exodus of professionals from Sri Lanka in all professions, but there are very few people who come back to the country. So that.
In fact, I might tell you, Rohan, that was the time when the JVP insurrection was on. Right. It's on the date on which I returned back to Sri Lanka that Rohana Vijayveera was taken into custody and the insurrection was brought to an end. In fact, I can remember I was waiting in the immigration queue when the announcement was made. That was at Katunayaka, when the announcement was made that Vijayveera had been taken into custody. And with that, the insurrection, the so-called insurrection, came to an end.
Watershed moment in Sri Lanka's history, and you were at the Katunayaka airport entering Sri Lanka after postgraduate study, right? Yeah. So, any other highlights? I mean, I know you have appeared for the state, the Attorney General, in many cases of distinction, but your career, upwards career, promotional aspects and all of that, are there any highlights that you would like to share with our viewers?
One or two things, Rohan, with your permission. One is, I think I did my duty as an officer of the state to the best of my ability. That's one thing. Secondly, another matter that I might bring to your notice is that soon after Chandrika got elected, Chandrika Bandaranaike was elected as the Prime Minister, I believe. 2 months thereafter, she invited me to Araliyagaha Mandira, that's the official residence of the then Prime Minister, and offered to appoint me as the Attorney General of this country. There were three others who were very much more senior to me, and I believe they had better experience than me at that time. And in those circumstances, I thought it was unfair for me to accept that offer. Any other person would have probably jumped at it and taken it. And I thanked Honorable Chandrika Bandaranaike for having placed confidence in me. But I told her that since there were three others who are equally competent as myself and who are senior to me, who are I would say, my gurus, because they were senior, I told her that I will wait for my turn and I return back to office. That's something which I feel proud of today, because I'm 100% sure if that sort of offer is made to an officer in this country, our culture is that you would grab it instead of following the rules.
It's, I think, a South Asian aspect of our humanity. I think not necessarily peculiar or restricted to us Sri Lankans. The corridors of power, they are, I think, better than alcohol these days. So that's one of those issues. So I think you had the integrity, not just the honesty, but the integrity to stand up and say, well, there are few others who are more experienced and also senior. That's aspect of your life and character to be appreciated. That's really great to hear.
Can I also say this, Rohan? The reason why I believe the reason why I was given that offer was, you know that Honorable J.R. Jayawardena had taken over as presidency at some point prior to that.
Yeah.
And pardon me for saying that, I think he was trying to destroy the Bandaranaike family at that time. And there was a very close associate of Honorable Sirimaudas Bandaranaike who was taken into custody at Gampa. At that time, I was the supervising officer of the area. And when the file was sent to me to indict her, when I went through the facts, I felt that there was something short. The evidence available and the manner in which the police officers had conducted in taking her into custody was questionable. If I may use the phrase, it appeared to be more for political reasons than the factual positions. And I made my decision that that's a matter where that lady had to be discharged. Of course, when I took that decision, I had to submit it to my supervising officer, the additional Solicitor General then. He took the view that she should be indicted. Kamala Ranatunga was the lady concerned. But I must say, my senior took that decision when I had decided that she should be discharged on the facts. And I can tell you, when I look back, within 4, the indictment was sent, the High Court trial commenced, and within 1 hour, Kamala Ranatunga, the court decided that she should be acquitted, which means that it was, I believe, court took the view that my view was the correct view. Don't forget that was at a time when J.R. Jayawardena was at the height of his power, and knowing very well that what he wanted was to persecute those who were associated with the Bandaranaike family. A public servant, a state officer, would have been reluctant to take that decision. And I believe they got to know that. And that was one of the reasons, maybe, that they thought that they would appoint me as the Attorney General, which offer I declined. And I must tell you that a lot of people within the profession respect me even today for that decision.
Very good. I mean, I didn't realize when you said you were offered the position. So there was an element of politics at the back of the tail when the promotion was offered, and you had the courage and integrity to refuse it and let the best person be appointed. Well done. We move on. Now, you retired from the Attorney General's department as an honest officer with integrity and an excellent record. Can I ask, in this day and age, or even then, why did you opt for politics?
Rohan, can I say that I did not wait till my retiral age. At some point, they gave the officers an option to retire at an early age, and I made use of that and retired. The reason why I took into politics is, I mean, from my childhood, I felt that there were injustices that is going on around us. And I felt that this country, since maybe, let's say, the 1960s onwards, that was on the decline. And I felt that corruption was creeping in. And I felt at that stage that once corruption creeps into the system, what happens is it increases in intensity. And in those circumstances, I felt that at least a few honorable people should take to politics. And I believe that was the motivating factor which made me to take into politics. We registered our own party in the year 2000. But I must also confess, since then we have been very lukewarm in our activities in the political arena. Of course, I was elected to the provincial councils twice over, but it was very lukewarm. And recently I felt that things were going down more than to the extent that we could bear up. And that's why we thought we joined hands with a few like-minded people, and we thought we'll fight back to see whether we can resurrect this system, especially the right-wing political groups which had destroyed, I use that phrase, this country. And as a result, the democratic right-wing group was also getting destroyed in the process. As you know, just now, it's a leftist group which has taken over power, and the only reason why they were able to capture power was the misdeeds of the right-wing politicians of this country during maybe the last 25 or 30 years. So we are trying to resurrect an honest, honorable right-wing back again, which will believe in democracy in this country. We may succeed, we may not, but we are trying.
So to do that, are you contesting the general election this time, and under what banner?
We are contesting in 7 districts, including Colombo, under our registered political party, that is the National People's Party. And I'm contesting the Colombo district. So we are on with it. Hopefully, we are trying to get at least a few honorable men to the next parliament. And I might say this, Rohan, if we get into parliament, we will not join the government group. We will not. We will sit in the opposition as a right-wing group, and whatever good things that the present government would do, we will wholeheartedly support from the opposition. But at the same time, if they try to lead us the wrong way with equal force, we will resist it. That's our...
So your group basically is contesting the current general election on the basis of being the checks and balances of the government in power and the parliamentary candidates to be elected. And in some cases, you will work with the government if they are for the greater benefit of the country. But if there is something wrong, you would and your group would be acting as the checks and balances, so to speak.
Absolutely correct.
Right. So, can I be cynical here? Because I normally sort of sit in the center when I interview politicians rather than attack them or support them. But just to be cynical, the mood of the people since the last presidential election, and perhaps the swing is going that way, is towards the left-wing side of politics, the political spectrum. You are contesting on the right wing of the political spectrum. Do you not think that the majority of the middle of the road people will join the left wing swing, the momentum, than the right wing? Because the right wing comes, as you said yourself, and I have observed it before in other programs, since independence, we've had either center or center-right governments, and look where it has got us into. So aren't you swimming against the tide, Srinath, with your party, the National People's Party?
Can I say this, Rohan, with your permission, that yes, the left wing has won the presidential election, and now there is a left-wing, left-oriented president in power. We get the feeling that at the general elections, if the same group get a massive majority in parliament, we are not too sure in which direction they may go. If they go in the right direction, fine, fantastic. But there's every possibility, as you know, Rohan, if I may quote this saying, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There is no guarantee that this group of people also may not become corrupt. We don't know. But more important thing than that is, which motivates me, is that they have very openly stated that they are proposing to amend the constitution of this country. Fine. I think there are a lot of areas where the constitution has to be amended. But they have not told us the areas in which they propose to amend the constitution. Now, my difficulty is, if they get absolute power at the general elections where they get a large majority, steamroller majority, I would not rule out the possibility of them changing the constitution and introducing a new constitution, may be modeled in the Russian or Chinese type. What I mean is a one-party system. Now, if they are saying that they are going to amend the constitution, they are not telling us in what areas. So therefore, I think I am legitimately entitled to assume that there is a possibility of their, in this process of changing the constitution, them introducing a one-party system where the democratic rights of the people will be taken away completely. And if that happens, if that does not happen, fantastic. If that happens, I think we will have to look up to the skies and cry. Therefore, I'm of the view that people should be given a chance to bring in a set of new, good, honorable people to the opposition, a right-wing group, who will try to maintain the balance. As I told you, absolute power can corrupt a person's absolutely. So therefore, as a guarantee, as an insurance policy to the people and the country, I think people should consider that aspect very carefully. And I believe a lot of people in this country seem to now feel that they are, whilst giving them the power, there should be a balance maintained, because they should not give too much of power in parliament. So that, as I said, if they decide to go in the wrong direction, I think we all will have to look up and suffer.
Right. So you're looking at the electorate, in your case, from the Colombo district, to elect you as a part of a strong opposition that can effectively safeguard the rights of the people by way of checks and balances. Now, to be fair on this program, I don't think the president or the NPP, your namesake party, in power they have said that they will do away with democracy and turn it into a one-party state. But I know you mentioned that it is based on an assumption, if it happens, then what you're looking for is to provide that robust opposition in parliament.
Can I also say this, Rohan, with permission? Now I have raised this issue, so that if they are not of that view, they will be able to make a statement whereby they can give an undertaking to the electorate that they will never ever move in that direction. Not to say that such a promise is binding, but at least then we will have that sort of an undertaking from the government. If they do give it, then maybe at the time they try to, if they go back on it, maybe at least there will be something for us to tell the people. Not that it will matter very much, because once you get the power, parliamentary control, then whatever we say will be just sort of thrown onto the streets. But I'm also giving them an opportunity to deny and say, no, Mr. Srinath Perera is absolutely wrong. That's not what we are planning to do. These are the amendments that we are looking at, not changing to a situation where there will be a one-party system. Let them look at it, and if they think that what I have stated is all wrong, let them tell the electorate that they will not follow that, at least for the sake of a record.
I see your point. I get your point. So moving on from the constitutional aspects to the economy and the doldrums that we have been in the last 2 or 3 years now, do you sort of are you okay as a political party as to the way the previous president and the government has taken, and also the current government's position on how to come out of the economic mess that we are in? What is your view? Would you say it's a continuation of the same policies of the previous government and that of the current government, or do you look at it from a different perspective?
Rohan, can I say this? I was the leader of the party just now. Now I'm the secretary, and I would say the legal power is with me. But we have appointed as our leader a young individual, one Manju Nisanka, who has returned from the USA after having worked there attached to an investment bank for the last 15 years. So with his expertise, we are going forwards. What we believe is, first, I must say this, Rohan, no development will not take us anywhere unless steps are taken to control corruption in this country. We are going from bad to worse. So if you allow that to happen, continue, I don't think we can talk of any development whatsoever. Subject to that, we are not against, what can I say, we are not against, what can I say, free economic policy. We are of the view that entrepreneurs should be given opportunity and they should be encouraged.
Should be given the right. Yeah.
Yes. So that's one of the things that we stand for. That at the same time, it should be corrupt-free. Our position, our stand is we should allow people to invest money, give them all the incentives necessary, but to make money without minus corruption. That's one. Secondly, production lines within the country should be developed. At the same time, we may have to encourage foreigners to come to this country and invest. And also, at the same time, don't forget, Rohan, there's a social factor that as a result of the corrupt practices that we followed during the last 30 or 40 years, there's a large percentage of people who are virtually starving, who don't get the 3 square meals. So therefore, on the one hand, whilst looking after or encouraging investment, what we call capitalist economy, we are not against capitalism, we are not against, but we say it should be subject to rules and regulations, devoid of corruption. At the same time, there's a social obligation in protecting those people for a time limit. But very unfortunately, in this country, what has happened is we have now made slaves of our people. What we have done is there are a lot of people who from birth to death try to depend on social network where government doles out funds, they just eat and drink and that's it. That we are against. What we say is equal opportunity. What is more important is to give opportunities to every citizen, whether he is a man with a lot of finances or whether he is a poverty line individual, all should be given equal opportunities to come up in life and to improve themselves so that they will be able to achieve what they want to achieve in life. We are a democratic party.
Very good. Now, talking about the corruption aspect, Srinath, that you referred to about eradicating corrupt practices and bringing people to book. Internationally, Sri Lanka is a country which is I would say very well down in the list, but the phrase is it's at the top end of the list for the most corrupt countries. Sad reflection on our society, and as you said quite rightly, which I agree, over the last 30 to 40 years, it's been a race downhill how corrupt we be. To be fair to the new government in power, about a month, 5 weeks in power, I have seen on both normal television and on social media a number of alleged corrupt politicians as well as others have been brought before the courts through the Criminal Investigations Department. Now, would you, in principle, as a party, support that process, or what's your take from a politician standpoint?
Very definitely. If they follow up these corrupt practices, if they investigate into those corrupt activities of the people who govern this country, make no mistake, Rohan, we will give them 100% support because we stand for that. We stand for elimination of corruption, and the only way in which corruption can be eliminated is irrespective of your position. If a person has resorted to corrupt practices, it has to be investigated independently, and the persons who are found guilty have to be dealt with. If not, I don't think we'll be able to stand up on our feet for the next 50 years. So we will support them.
Yeah, very good. I just wanted to touch base because you mentioned about corruption, and then to give it an equal balance to this interview, what the government is doing so far. And I think I take your answer as a comprehensive one. Looking at any country, as they say, I mean, this is in English, but I always say in American, which is the same language, but from a different perspective. As they say in American, it's the economy, stupid, they say, which the people vote on. No doubt corruption has been a strong element, or they're fed up, the people, the electorate is fed up of the corrupt activities. But at the end of the day, once all of these social problems, evils have been resolved or on the path to recovery, what matters most is the stomach, the economy. So I think whether one stays in government or in opposition, I think we owe a national duty to support the businesses in the country, in Sri Lanka, so that there is more internal output, foreign direct investment. Of course, FDIs come with ease of doing business and also corruption and a robust justice system. Now, I see of late the justice system, of which you have been part of from the Attorney General's Department and has since retiring in private practice, is delivering independent, fearless, robust judgments. How do you see that contributing to the third pillar of power, the judiciary? And what are your thoughts how best we can further improve, not improve, strengthen, I think is the right word, the judicial system that includes the Attorney General's Department, the judges, and so on?
Absolutely. You're dead right on what you said. I think we have to improve, give independence to these institutions to carry out their duties fearlessly. And that has not happened over the years. Can I say this? I'm not finding fault with late Mr. J.R. Jayawardena, but under his constitution that he introduced, the power to appoint judges, the power to appoint heads of government departments virtually came under his sole hand. And as a result, we found that little by little, the public service started deteriorating. And also, when the top people are corrupt, I believe the public servants also are tempted to follow the same path. So we have been going in the wrong direction, and the laws are there. Maybe we have to update the laws a little bit more. And even the Attorney General's Department, I'm sad to say that we see gaps here and there. Fortunately, the judiciary has stood up to it to some extent. But as you quite correctly said, I think it has to be strengthened. Rules and regulations will have to be put in place, especially when it comes to appointment of high officials. It should be done not at the sole discretion of a single individual. He may be the president or maybe a person even more powerful, but it has to be done in a manner where the right people are appointed and that those people are given the flexibility, the independence to do their job the way it is expected to be done. I think those changes will have to be brought in.
Will come through. I hope these thoughts and processes will become reality in the next parliament, and hope you will be there to make a contribution in whatever way to the prosperity and rebuilding of the country. Just in relation to the current or the forthcoming general election, how does the proportionate system work for a party such as yours and the candidates? Are there sort of minimum thresholds that one needs to get from, in your case, from the Colombo district to get into parliament? The reason I'm asking this question is not necessarily to politically highlight you, but because I think I don't know, and perhaps a lot of our viewers will not know what the cutoff or the entry point, the minimum, has to be to elect an MP into parliament from a district such as the Colombo district?
That's a very relevant and pertinent question that you have asked me. Let me say this first. The Constitution provides that now we are contesting the Colombo district. There is a constitutional provision which says that unless we collect a minimum of 5% of the total votes, we are not qualified to have a single person elected to parliament.
So it's 5%, 5% from the Colombo district or particular district, or from the whole of the country?
From the Colombo district, of the valid votes cast in the Colombo district, you have to collect a minimum of 5%. Now, roughly if I say there are 1.7 million voters, let's assume that, let's say 1.4 million, 1.7 million, 1.4 million vote. Now, 5% of that will come to about 70,000 votes. If I contest from a big party, even with maybe 40,000, 50,000 votes, preference votes, I can get into parliament. But if you are a small party, unless you come up to the cutoff point of 70, minimum 70,000, let's say you get 68,000, I'm just giving an example, maybe you get 68,000, which is more than the preferential vote that has been obtained by a candidate of another party who goes into parliament. But because you have not come up to the threshold point, you're out. I think that's absolutely undemocratic. I must also say, earlier it was 12.5% under the J.R. Javadana regime. Mr. Premadasa, Honorable late R. Premadasa, reduced it to 5% and made it a little more justifiable. I believe the reason why, pardon me for saying this, I believe the reason why the J.R. Javardhana regime brought that cutoff point was to ensure that all the smaller parties are wiped out of the system so that the bigger parties like the UNP would be able to survive forever and forever. That's one. So that's something which will have to be changed. Secondly, I might also, since you have raised this issue, I tell you, unless you have monies or funds from the corrupt businessmen in this country, unless you get contributions from them, it becomes almost impossible for you to contest within a district and get elected. I have enough money for my survival. I have my 3 meals. I go about in my vehicle. I have enough money to attend to my health facilities. But when I step out to contest the elections, I feel that I'm worse than a beggar. Just 3 days ago, a candidate who happens to be an actor made a statement saying that for him to go from his place where he is to the meeting place, he hired a helicopter paying 2,300 US dollars. That's about 7.5 lakhs of rupees. From where do they get that money, that sort of money? For one trip to attend and speak at a meeting, he spends 700,000 rupees. The type of money that we can't even imagine. So therefore, there is a discrepancy. Unless you have funding from corrupt businessmen, corrupt individuals, I tell you, Rohan, it's almost impossible for people like us to get into parliament, but we don't have enough money to go on a advertising program or whatever. But notwithstanding that, we are trying our best to do it. And if we can get at least a few people into parliament, I'm 100% sure we can agitate and fight with a view to changing this model so that it will come down to a fairer field where everybody will have an equal opportunity to contest and get into parliament. I tell you, Rohan, people like myself find it almost impossible to get near parliament under this system.
Well, I sincerely hope that you will be able to go against that trend, reach out to the people who matter, the electorate, especially within the professional and academic classes, as well as the people who are suffering from especially a middle class with a fixed income and increased expenditure, who's fallen from that spending social area to one below, who are finding it difficult to find the 3 square meals and send their children to school of their choice, etc., who had a relatively decent living in the country. I hope your message will reach out to them and they will look at you. So, and it will reflect in fulfilling your thought processes, your what you want to do in Parliament. So I wish you the very best, Srinath, in the forthcoming election, and the very best indeed in all your endeavors.
Thank you very much, Rohan. And I thank you for this opportunity that you have given me, because reaching the voter means hordes of money. You need hordes of money to reach the voter. To tell you quite frankly, even today, by this day, most of the lawyers, my friends, are not aware of the fact that we are contesting. The reason is we don't have the type of money to reach them, but we are trying hard.
Very good. And on that bright note, optimist note, thank you so much again, Srinath, for taking the time out from your schedule to talk to us on this program, Ideal Island, and all the very best. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much, Rohan. I must thank you for this great opportunity that you have given me.
Our pleasure. Thank you.